Bim! Guess what? We're live. It is 10:15, a little bit later than usual, but there's a reason for that, and the reason for that is there has been some pretty major breaking news, which is it's been revealed that the Americans have what's going on here? No, wrong one. Yeah, it's been Americans have arrested someone yesterday for possibly trying to assassinate Donald Trump. Apparently he was found a mile away from where Trump was holding a rally with many weapons, and when stopped said he was out there to kill Trump. This was yesterday. News is breaking as we speak about this, so I've been watching the news just to get some information, and basically it was yesterday, so we don't need to worry quite as much. I'm a firm believer that politicians, regardless of whom they are, should never be attacked physically in any way, shape or form, certainly not with guns. Okay, that's America. America's different from us, I get that. But yeah, so that is the breaking news that we've got going on. But we'll come back to that later, and we'll see if there's any updates when I go back to the breaking news. But what we're going to do this week is the usual stuff. We're going to look at the day-by-day news of the week, and then we will look at the news that makes you either laugh, cry, go, oh my word, or oh, okay then, oh that's cute, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's all systems go, a little bit later than normal, apologies like I say, but news is 24 hours a day. If you want to catch up with the latest news, sometimes you've got to wait a bit. Anyway, hello Angela, hello Lainey, and Wolfie Pup, or just Wolfie as we like to call the little puppy, although technically that means it's Wolfie Pup, so yeah, maybe not, or maybe, I don't know. What do you think? Oh, you're not there, are you? Sorry. There's no one there. There's no one there at all. So yeah, we are going to get a cracking with news. So what's going on this week? Let's start off quite quietly, and then it's just got more and more bizarre as the week's gone on. So Monday, the 7th of October. We're near enough halfway through October. I mean, what the hell is going on? Anyway, a bus crash in County Down in Ireland. 27 children injured as a bus carrying, obviously, children flipped over into a field. And it was the first year anniversary of Hamas attack. And my question from pretty much a week in was it foreseen? I'm still not exactly sure that Israel did everything it could do to stop it. But anyway, 250 hostages were taken and 1,200 innocent people died on that day. And since then it's gone nothing but downhill. Tuesday the 8th, Hurricane Milton. 100 million people are told to evacuate by Biden. It's the biggest in 100 years of hurricanes. How they can measure them to that degree 100 years ago, I'm not exactly sure. Having said that, 100 years isn't actually that long ago now, is it? If you think about it, that would be 1924, so maybe they did have that technology. Because what was the thing we looked at last week about Back to the Future? When Marty McFly went back from 1984 to 1954, it was like a whole new world. If Marty McFly did that now, we would go back to 1994. Yeah, okay, it was before the internet was a big thing, and mobile phones and all that, but other than that, not a lot has changed really, and that makes you feel really old, particularly if you were around and are grown up in 1994. But yeah, this storm was forecast to be much bigger than Katrina, which was a famous one a few years ago, which hit various parts of the underside of America. This was aiming more at Florida. I mean, I say aiming, it's not actually got a target. It's not an entity that thinks, right, we're going to go this way. We're not going to go to New Orleans like Katrina did. We're going to go to we're going to attack the people who are having holidays in Florida. No, it doesn't have the sentience. Well, it might do. Who knows? useless things that the Trump campaign come out with was the fact that the government are controlling the weather. I mean, why would the government destroy and kill people? Oh yeah, Israel. Anyway, MI5 head warns Russia and Iran and Islamic State are to cause more terror plots, or working on more terror plots. And many youngsters are being brainwashed online. And I've said many times that the next war that we have, although we're heading towards one at the minute by the looks of things, but it's going to be more online and by drones and things like that rather than feet on ground. As Russia's proved, feet on ground doesn't work anymore. We're in a different world now. IDF say 15,000 troops deployed in South Lebanon, with more large explosions in Beirut, which is the capital of Lebanon. Damascus in Syria was also hit by attack from the IDF. So at the moment Israel is fighting a war in Gaza, in Lebanon, and attacking Iran. And where are they getting all these weapons and money from? Oh yeah, America. And, to a lesser extent, Europe, including Britain. We're down to 3 in the Conservative leadership. Cleverly topped the last round, so everyone's breathing a sigh of relief. At least there's one person there who's a little bit sensible. Mind you, it was only Tuesday. Things can only get... CNN reports Trump had 7 phone calls with Vladimir Putin after he lost the election. Now, it's not usual for former presidents to have personal conversations with world leaders after they are presidents, particularly when the world leader is someone like Donald Trump, who's the world leader is someone like Vladimir Putin, who's currently in a war that he's started with a country which some people say deserved it, some people don't. I'm more in the line of, again, it's to do with the individuals who are being killed rather than the bigger picture. But sadly, the bigger picture is the picture that a lot of people look at. Wednesday, disaster, in quotation marks, as Cleverly is eliminated in the final Tory leader MP vote. So the 3 have gone down to 2, and Cleverly was eliminated. Remember, only yesterday, as the skin things go, where is it? Cleverly topped yesterday, and today gets knocked out. Today being now Wednesday, whereas yesterday was Tuesday. I hope you're keeping up with this. Hello, Drew Frequency, hope you're good. You've also got to bear in mind as well that it's now up to the members of the Conservative Party to vote for whom they think is the best out of the 2 that are left. And for me, it's a rock and a hard place. I mean, neither of them are particularly good. We'll come back to that. But no, it is worrying. It also seems that a lot of people decided who voted for Cleverly to do some tactical voting to get rid of the person that they thought was the biggest threat to Cleverly. But the problem was, different people who voted for Cleverly had different issues with the other 2. So their vote was split, which basically meant that Cleverly lost more than what the others gained. And yeah, the whole thing was a complete nightmare. A bit like how they lost the general election. It wasn't because Labour didn't win because they were good. They got 1 million votes less than they did last time. Labour won because the Tories absolutely completely teed up. Biden and Netanyahu have a phone call, and it's the first time they've spoken to each other in weeks. We've not heard anything that's was said about it, other than Biden did say he wanted Israel to pull back from the brink, or worse to that effect. But obviously action since then has kind of proved the point that Netanyahu doesn't listen to anyone. The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, went to a freebie Swifty concert in the day taxpayers paid for royal-style security for Taylor Swift. Apparently Taylor Swift was given royal-style security, which is very heavy security, rather than normal, just celebrity police escort thing. And this was to and from the venue. And this was allegedly because of the alleged terror plot against her when she was in Europe a few weeks ago, although there was no sign of anything like that this time. But anyway, the Home Secretary who organises these things managed to see Taylor Swift for free because, well, you know, she's in Labour, so she can do that. I don't mean she's going to give birth anytime soon. Not that kind of Labour. Israel, this is Thursday the 10th. Israel strikes centre of Beirut, killing 22 and injuring many, many more. And it was a residential area. Now Israel's excuse always is, well, we're aiming for Hamas or Hezbollah or whatever terrorist organisations, and they hide within the public. But as we said a couple of weeks ago, after that strike they did in Beirut, where they actually hit the second floor of a building without destroying but killing the people they wanted to do, they can actually target people. So why the hell are they demolishing buildings and killing and injuring innocent people? At least 10 dead after Milton, the storm Milton, Hurricane Milton, hit Florida. There were 19 tornadoes confirmed and possibly more, and millions of people are without water and power. I stayed up to watch it on CNN, and it always amazes me how they get reporters to stand out in a hurricane, which apparently is going to be one of the worst hurricanes in 100 years. Turned out it wasn't. I mean, it was bad, obviously, but it wasn't as bad as they feared. But the one of the guys was stood. There was a long shot of where he was. You actually saw him and the camera crew walking out to it on the long shot, and the long shot showed palm trees. They were basically about to snap it off, and the guys, the camera crew and the main reporter were in that little group of palm trees with branches that had fallen off, which were sizable branches that had fallen off, one of which he picked up, only a tiny one to be fair, and went, you know, this has just blown past us, let it go, and it just flew off. You're like, what is wrong with these people? You know, obviously wherever the camera was, it was doing the long shot, was getting the impact and everything, maybe on a balcony or something like that. So why not just stand on the balcony? You know, think of yourselves. And then other people, other CNN reporters around the area were stood in the middle of roads with bits flying past. You're like, what is wrong with you? He's trying to get a story, but your story could be that you get decapitated by a billboard that's come off, or a roof tile that's come off a building, or even just a building landing on you. But no, they do it because they want to be in the news. Daniel Khalif is on trial now. If you remember, he was the alleged spy that escaped from was it Wandsworth prison on the underside of a van, and was on the run for ages. And there were pictures at the time that came out of him where he had no top on. There were quite a few people, women mainly, who said if he wants anywhere to hide, he can hide in my spare room, which I don't think they quite got the seriousness of it. But anyway, he's been accused of passing evidence and information to Iran, who of course is one of our major enemies. But apparently his defence has said no, they were doing that in order to get information from Iran so he could become a double agent and then give the information to the British MI5 and all that kind of thing. But anyway, the trial is continuing. Labour unveil new employee rights, including 0-hour contracts being a thing of the past, unfair dismissal being pretty much a thing of the past from day one, and sick pay from day one, not day three. But it's going to be up to 2 years before this comes. Now, as a nearly employee, I find stuff that makes things more expensive for employees makes you employ less people. I mean, you know, the minimum wage keeps going up. I literally have no one working for me now because, well, I can't afford them anymore because the minimum wage is so much. And they're on about increasing national insurance that employers pay, allegedly. It's only a rumour, nothing in concrete yet. Which, again, if you're a small business, it might not sound a lot initially, but if you've got, you know, 30, 40 employees and you're not a massive multinational company, that is going to affect your cash flow tremendously, so people will be let go. More so as things are going down. So I think they're actually going to make more people unemployed. And why would you take someone on if they've got rights of unfair dismissal from day one? when, you know, the first day they might do something like punch someone in the face. Well, you know, you're getting out of here. So no, the whole thing is a nonsense. But I mean, as I've said before, this Labour government seems to be the people who lost in The Apprentice, the early rounds of The Apprentice, and they've been put in charge. The lunatics have taken over the asylum, basically. But more of that later. I must admit, I did say that when Liz Truss became Prime Minister. I did say something very similar at the time. It's like all our politicians at the minute are just shite. England footy lose, I don't normally do football stuff, but they lose to Greece for the first time ever. While the England cricket team score 823 for 7 with a 454 run partnership in the test in Pakistan, all of which are records for the England footy team, with now a new manager, interim. Not a good record, but for the England cricket team, if you're into that kind of thing, which I'm not, amazing stuff. Top stuff, guys, well done. Don't know whether they won the match or not, don't really care, I'll be honest. Friday the 11th of October. P&O ferries are angry after the new transport... what's going on there? We're off and we're back on again. Right, I don't know what happened then, so we'll come. I'll retrack a little bit. Are we okay? Yeah, we got no frame rate's good and everything, so I don't know what's going on then. But anyway, so P&O ferries, Friday the 11th of October. P&O ferries angry after the new Transport Secretary, Labour, says they are a rogue company and the British public should avoid them, which seems a bit silly and a bit short-sighted. More so as they were supposed to be going to a conference or some kind of meeting regarding investing in the United Kingdom, organised by Keir. Keir said in an interview that's not a representative of the government's interpretation of P&O, but if you remember a few years ago, P&O basically sacked every one of their employees on the ships via text video, and then hired people who were not nationals of Britain, so they wouldn't have to pay the minimum wage, which takes me back to what I was on about before. Keir says there will be more investigation into this, but that's, you know, not a major issue. But they've said they're not going to attend this meeting on Monday with the government because they're upset about it, which seems fair enough, if you ask me. If you don't ask me, it still seems fair enough anyway. World condemnation as Israeli Defence Force fire again at UN bases in Lebanon. It's the second day after a residential building were levelled overnight with 20 dead. Now, all the UN have been there for many decades. They've got these bases which are well known in Lebanon, and for some reason the IDF have attacked them, the Israeli army, for 2 days on the trot. Turns out it's going to be 3 days on the trot soon. There were 5 UN workers who were actually injured in these attacks. Elon Musk reveals cybercabs, a bit like Johnny Cabs off of that really good film, which was Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He basically said they're going to take over the world, these cabs. Basically 2 seats. They look a bit like small versions of the Cybertruck. And they haven't got a Johnny guy in the front of it who talks to you. It's just you sit in it and you can do whatever you want while you sit in it, apparently, whatever that would be. I'm sure the things you can't do in that, legally. I don't believe a bloody thing in the news. It's all fake propaganda. It is. It's just picking out what you think is the truth or not the truth. RS John, welcome by the way. Yeah, he got in one of these cabs and it took him away and dropped him off a cliff. No, it didn't. But what did drop off a cliff were the Tesla shares. The share price dropped 9% on the reveal of this. He also revealed, as an aside, Tesla robots with Tesla on the chests, doing things like washing up and ironing and stuff like that, which looked kind of interesting. I wouldn't mind one of them because, you know, I don't have time to do cleaning and tidying up in the house. It's a right scruffy place, this place. That's because I work 7 days a week, for often 10 hours a day. So yeah, I don't feel like cleaning when I get home. So maybe I will trial one of the Tesla robots. So if Elon Musk is watching, I think your SpaceX is amazing. Then yeah, send me one for free, and I'll do a test with it. We'll have it reviewing oil and stuff like that. You know, it'd be great. United Utilities, the water provider in the northwest, says it has no option other than to put up prices by £20 a year for the next 5 years to sort out various issues. These various issues are the fact that United Utilities, who's paid its shareholders billions of pounds in profits, bought and knew they were buying a Victorian infrastructure that needed upgrading, but they chose not to upgrade it. They chose to pay their shareholders instead. And now all of a sudden, lo and behold, with all these apartment blocks being built in like the centre of Manchester and various other towns and cities around the country, the Victorian water system is not capable of managing it, which is why we're allegedly getting all these spills of raw sewage into rivers and Lake Windermere and places like that. So they're going to charge the great British public, like I say, in the northwest, it's going to be £20 a year extra to pay for the improvements. Now, I don't know how many houses there are in the UK, but I think £20 a year extra is not a lot of money, really, in the scheme of things, what they have to spend. So, but it's a lot of money if you have to pay it. So once again, it's basically a tax that's unfair. And if you're a private company, you invest, especially if you've been paying your shareholders all these dividends and your people who run the companies stupid amounts of money and bonuses for just being crap. Dotty Lady, hello, welcome, long time no see. Seeing a delivery robot in Washway Road in Manchester was like, what the hell? Yeah, one of them little things with a little flag thing that flies above it. Yeah, there's a few of them. I've seen a couple myself knocking around here, there and everywhere, but you're like, they're just there to be abused, aren't they? I mean, they really are. I mean, not suggesting you should do that, obviously. I mean, one thing that really annoys me is these people who keep chopping down these speed cameras that are paid for by the taxpayers, in our case, the Wigan taxpayers, but in other towns and cities, taxpayers from wherever they are. It's not the individuals who do it. If you damage property willfully and deliberately, and it is definitely you, you should pay for the replacements. And if you're on benefits, then that should come out of your benefits. I'm sorry, but yeah, there's no excuse for damaging infrastructure, whether you agree with it or not. If you don't agree with it, the next election, vote for other people. That's what elections are about. Fisher Price are recalling approximately 2 million infant Snugger Swin first move swings. Bit of a mouthful. Because of a suffocation risk after 5 young children died after sleeping in the devices. Now, one would have thought a company like Fisher Price, who's been around forever, would have some kind of test facilities where they would realise that they're making something that if a child falls asleep, it could and would suffocate. I mean, you know, I don't know whether or not they have got those, but I would have thought they would do. Because remember, my daughter had a Fisher Price, I can't remember what it was called now, but it was kind of a spidery thing. And it had like 8 wheels, but all the wheels were kind of, the thing wasn't in the middle. It was at one of the edges, so when you rolled it along, it kind of wobbled, you know, along like that. And it had these dealy bopper things, springs with a little eye on it, although technically spiders don't have eyes on dealy boppers, that's snakes, that's snails. But anyway, besides, it was a kid's toy. And she had that, and she was in bed, so there was only me downstairs. I was led down watching telly, and I heard this twang. What the hell was that? Made me jump, to be fair. And then twang. So I kind of looked up, and one of the cats I had at the time, which was called Sue, we had Sooty Sweep and Sue. She was a very aloof cat. She always reminded me a bit of Annie Walker or Hyacinth Bouquet. She always thought she was, you got that impression, she always thought she was better than everyone else. And she stood next to this, well, she sat next to this thing, not looking at it and not looking at me, just looking in the opposite direction, with this dealy bopper thing going like that next to her. And I'm like, I know what you did. And she looked at me. I said, I know what you've done. I said, you know, you can have fun. You're allowed to have fun. She just looked at me. And then she just got up and walked away. And it never happened again for the entire time she was around. Tragically, she was one of them cats. We didn't get her as such. She kind of moved in and then deposited kittens with us twice. Even the vet said that it was amazing how she'd done so many kittens. At one point we had 15 cats in that house. But I think because she moved in when she was ready to die, she was getting older, she literally went out one day and never returned, never saw her again. So, which is what is natural for cats and other animals. If they know they're about to die, they move away from the rest of the pack or the herd or whatever it is, so that when they do die, or if they've got something that's contagious, it won't go to the rest of the pack. Or if they do die, I mean, they don't know this, but it's obviously an instinct in them, that the body, if it decomposes and is not removed, could cause illness to the other animals within the pack. So I assume that's what she did, because she was getting on a bit, and she wasn't young when she moved in, to be fair, although obviously young enough to have kittens. Anyway, that's my cat story and Fisher Price. So if you've got one of these infant, snugger, swin, first, ferret, move, swings, don't use it. Take it back to the shop where you got it from, or send it back to Amazon. So, right, I don't know what is going on today, but the internet is really, really ropey. So I do apologise. Yeah, don't know what's going on, so I do apologise. So if I'm ignoring your chat, I'm not ignoring your chat. It's just a case of the internet is just really, really bad tonight. So we'll crack on, shall we? We'll crack on. Regardless, welcome to the world of Virgin Media. So Saturday the 12th of October, Alex Salmond dies suddenly in North Macedonia, aged 69, after giving a speech at a conference. Unexpected death. He was the SNP leader who, although he had some issues later on with allegations, none of which were proved, against him, he did seem to be a guy who wanted the best for Scotland, and he went about it in a dignified way. He was the leader of SNP. I think he was the first minister, SNP Minister of Scotland, and he also got the first reform vote, not reform vote, reform vote to leave the UK, although it was smacked down by the voters. But anyway, sadly passed away, and many people in all sides of politics have offered tributes to him and his family. Israel takes some journalists into South Lebanon, despite the fact Hezbollah was still around and shooting. So yeah, that seemed a bit cavalier. Maybe it was a way of getting rid of people who might be questioning their motives, or certainly their ways of doing things in that area. Keir's first 100 days, were they good or bad? P&O agreed to go to the summit on Monday, and he described some of his first days as being a bit choppy. This was on a newscast interview. I watched the full newscast interview, and if we were playing the Keir Starmer bingo game, we would have got certainly a line, possibly even a full house, because amongst many things, he did mention that there was a £22 billion black hole that he had to fill in somehow. Boeing in America are to get rid of 17,000 jobs, which is around about 10% of their entire employee basis, due to falling sales and the fact that they can't make aeroplanes that don't seem to fall out of the sky, or spaceships that can't bring the crew back. Mind you, at least they got the crew to the space station, I suppose. Sunday the 13th, that is today. Rather more than a bit. Yeah, me thinks too as well, Dotty Lady. He did say all the stuff that he thought he'd done well. Setting up GB Energy. Well, you've just mentioned it, you've not actually set anything up yet. Employees' rights, you've just mentioned it, you've not done it yet. I mean, there might be some good things coming out of the budget, but my breath is not being held. Many people, pensioners, have lost money. The £300 energy warming heating allowance thing has gone for many people. The freebies that they've all had, more seems to be coming out all the time. And he was the member of Parliament, out of every single member of Parliament for the last, 3 or 4 years, he had the most amount of freebies than anyone else, including the incumbent government. And that included Boris Johnson. I mean, God's sake. No, it's insane. But anyway, let's just see what comes. You know, it might be the best thing that's ever happened. Anyway, Israel on Sunday, which is today, tells Israeli PM tells the UN to remove their people from South Lebanon, following 5 getting injured over the last couple of days. And the UN say there was a shocking violation overnight, as 2 tanks literally forced their way into a compound owned by the UN, and been owned by the UN for decades. I mean, why? How has Israel got the right to do whatever they want and no one do anything about it? SpaceX managed to capture the most powerful rocket ever built. If you've seen the footage of this, it's only been released today. It is amazing. They've got this huge rocket which dwarfs even the Apollo rockets, and it takes off and it separates, and a rather sizable chunk of it separates. Now, we've seen them with the boosters before, where the boosters come down and they land on a barge or whatever. They have, like rear thrusters, and they land on a barge. A few of them initially didn't work. The whole point is to make it a bit like the space shuttle, where they can reuse as much of it as they can. And this main part has got over 30 engines in it, so it's quite an expensive thing to make. So they come up with this idea now of catching it in chopsticks. So if you think of, what is it, the Karate Kid, where the master catches a fly in some chopsticks, just go like that and catches a fly. This massive, huge rocket thing that's separated away from the main thing that's gone up into space. It comes down, and it works its way. It's falling down at the speed of sound. It's falling down at a rapid rate, but it somehow manages to aim for where it launched from, the launch pad, or near the launch pad. Then the rocket boosters underneath come out and slow it down, and then it lines itself up. This is like a large toilet tube. This is a massive thing, and it gets in between these chopsticks that just grab it like that really gently. And I'm like, how the hell have you done that? Elon Musk, genius. I want one of his robots, remember. Elon Musk, you're a genius. Give me one of your robots, please. I could do with something to clean my house up, thank you. Yeah, the environment thing is the thing, but you've got to think on the environment. Twice the size of Saturn, yeah. The environment is more harmed when these things just crash into the earth, and then they have to build them all again from scratch. So yeah, it's not environmentally friendly. It's not like, zero net carbon and all that kind of stuff, but it's certainly more environmentally friendly than rebuilding it every time they launch a rocket up. So yeah, NASA did do that, Laney. They did it with the space shuttle. I mean, okay, they had a few issues with the space shuttles, where tragically a few people lost their lives, including one that I watched a documentary on fairly recently, where they kind of knew what was going to happen, but they didn't do anything about it. They still let these astronauts come back in to the atmosphere with damage on the underside of the tiled area. Well, no, I mean, technology is getting on, Laney. I think you're being a bit picky on poor NASA. Technology has come on a long way now. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what actually comes of it. The thing about this, what's it called? Starship, SpaceX Starship is, it won't be long before they can literally launch 100 astronauts at the same time into space. I mean, where they're going to go, I haven't got a clue. But it'd be a good tourist thing, wouldn't it? So you've been in space. but one would imagine they're going to use that for landing on the moon, and then maybe even do stuff on the moon that would then make them be able to fly to Mars. So maybe these 100 seats that they've got in this main area is fantastic. But they're going to have to send up 2 or 3 at a time, because you need maybe 100 people to put everything together that's in the other 2 rockets to build some kind of moon base or something, because they're on about a moon base. And of course America and China are arguing about what the time is on the moon. I mean, bigger things to argue about between America and China than figuring out what time is on the moon. Which brings us to the last of the news of this week, which we've already discussed, which was the breaking news. It's been revealed that there was a third plot to assassinate Donald Trump. It was yesterday at a rally. A car was stopped. The guy in the car, it was obviously a targeted stop, had many weapons, including automatic weapons, and admitted he was going out to kill Donald Trump. And as I've said, and I will continue to say, whether it's milkshake being thrown in Nigel Farage's face, whether it's MPs being stabbed at surgeries where they're out to meet people and killed, whether it's assassinations of American presidents or attempted assassinations like Ronald Reagan, people have put themselves out there to be politicians. Whether you agree with them or don't agree with them, you've got to bear in mind that the only way to defeat them is in the ballot box. And as I've said before, with the Labour government, they got 1 million votes less than last time, but they seem to think they've got carte blanche to do whatever they want. And they're like, no, it don't work like that. I remember 100 days into the last election when Labour lost, which was 20... I don't know when it was actually. But 2010, 2009, something like that. But the weird thing was that they were saying that Labour will never get back into government again. Oh no, I'm on about the last election, 2019, when Corbyn drove them into basically oblivion. Well, they got 1 million votes more then than they did this time round. It was apathy because they're all crap. People didn't vote, and then the vote was split between Labour as a protest vote and the Reform UK. And if people say, well, I vote Labour because my granddad voted Labour, I will say to them, if your granddad's still alive, ask him if he voted Labour this time. He probably didn't, he probably voted Reform. And if your granddad's dead, which a lot of granddads are, I'm a granddad, I'm not dead yet, but I'm working on it. Not deliberately, I mean, I'm just getting old. But they would not vote Labour because Labour is not the party that they grew up with. And that's the problem we've got. People just vote Labour because they've always voted Labour. Well, look at what you're voting for. It's not the same Labour you've initially started with. Where are we going? RS, hopefully the Labour Cabinet will volunteer to be the first to go to Mars in a one-way ticket. Lenin replied, Lord Ali will pay. Hopefully they will all cough. And then Lord Ali's going to fly the spaceship. Is it pink? Well, have they invented colour yet in space? I don't know, it's early days, isn't it? Anyway, that ends the week's news. But it doesn't end the show, because now we've got the rather exciting news that makes you go, or oh, or ah, or like that. So what's the first thing we've got? We've got a couple of Banksies this week as well. We've been Banksy free of late, but we are getting the Banksies back. So there's a couple of new ones that have come in. That's the wrong one. What's going on? Oh no, everything's crashing. There we go, we're back. I don't know what's going on today with the thing, but anyway. Keir Starmer, he's going to get some clobbering in this next section. Keir Starmer has said many times, my dad was a toolmaker, and then there's a picture of Leonardo DiCaprio looking very smug with a drink in his hand. I don't know what film it is, A Great Gatsby probably, and it says, my dad was a toolmaker, and Leonardo DiCaprio is saying, ain't that the truth, because he made you. Yeah, see, that's the old joke, but it's still funny. It always will be. So anyone who actually says what, I don't know. In 1948, scientists gave a spider, or spiders, to be fair. What's going on here? Let's get rid of that. I don't know what's going on there. We'll get rid of that bit there. There we go. In 1948, a scientist gave drugs to spiders to see how it affected their ability to make webs. What am I doing there as well? What is going on with this? Who's been messing with my my ting? There we go. That's better, isn't it? Right then. So in 1948, a scientist gave drugs to spiders to see if it affected their ability to make webs. Well, he soon got his answer, and the answer was yes. Top right, LSD, basically just not a lot going on. Top left, sorry, was LSD's. Top right is speed, and yeah, it's a web, but it's messy. Marijuana, well, couldn't be arsed doing half of it. Caffeine, absolutely, that's the worst one, and that's the drug that most people take, caffeine, and look at the mess. I mean, the other ones are identifiable as spiders' webs, and then you had a normal spider's web at the bottom. So I suppose the nearest to the normal spider's web was speed, and the least normal one was caffeine. So there you go, lay off the caffeine, folks, especially if you want to make a web. I don't know what that means. Storm of the century sparks mass evacuations. This was the breaking story at the time of Hurricane Milton that had rapidly strengthened into a Category 5, barreling towards the US state of Florida, threatening the same coastline battered by Hurricane Helene, which killed at least 230 people less than 2 weeks earlier. Mass evacuations were underway in the Tampa Bay region, which has not endured a head-on hit by a hurricane in more than a century. I think I've seen all them shaped webs in my garden. Well, you need to dispose of your packaging better then. Hurricane Milton is now a 175 mile an hour Category 5 storm and is tied as the 4th strongest Atlantic hurricane in history, which is quite shocking. One thing that is shocking is, if there's a trilogy of movies, generally they get worse as they go along. The first one is the best one, and my argument for this is, if it's a brand new intellectual property, IP, new thing, like the first Ghostbusters, for example, the first Matrix, whoever's come up with it has had their entire life to that point. Same as the first album, if you're an artist. You've had your entire life to come up with that, and then all of a sudden, because of the success of that one, you've got to immediately come up with another one. So you're like, well, I've used all my best ideas on that one to make it popular, what can I do this time? So things kind of edge off. But, and I agree with some of these, but not all of these, this is what people think of certain movies, franchises. So Star Wars, the first one, which is I Saw, which is now A New Hope, was very, very good apparently. The second one was better, I didn't watch it because I didn't like the first one. Third one was slightly worse than the first one. Indiana Jones, I've seen all three of them, the first three anyway, and I thought they were all pretty good for what they were. Matrix, first one was amazing, second one was okay. The only good bit on it was the bit on the freeway where they're having the fight and you've got the white albino twins with the albino dreadlocks and the suits all smashing around, jumping from cars to cars and everything. And then the third one was absolutely dire. Star Trek, I assume it's the remakes. The first one was okay, the second one was better, third one somewhere in between. Superman, I assume it's the first movies. Superman 1 not very popular, Superman 2 was okay, Superman 3 no. Jurassic Park, never seen any of them. Okay, not very good, really bad. X-Men, not seen them, but the first one was okay, second one was better, third one fell off a cliff. Spider-Man, I assume it's the first one, Tobey Maguire. So okay, better, dreadful. Lord of the Rings, just boring all the way through. Mad Max, now I agree with this one. Mad Max 1 was a decent film, Mad Max 2 was better. I do kind of think that Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome, because of Tina Turner, was amazing. Jaws, first one, yeah, we never seen anything like it before, was really good. I think I'm disappointed that they put Jaws 2 so low. I thought Jaws 2 was actually quite good, because it had the element of risk of the kids of the main character being in jeopardy. So that was quite good, and the way he killed it at the end with the spoilers, with the cable and all that, was really quite good as well. Third one was absolutely awful. I nearly broke my neck trying to fly off the stairs after watching Spider-Man when I was a kid. That's probably in poor taste, bearing in mind what happened to the actor Christopher Reeve. But anyway, you know, you're a kid, so you didn't know any better. Back to the Future. First one, the best one. Second one was nearly as good as the first one. Third one for me, a bit of a cliff. It was alright, didn't like it that much. So I'd probably put it halfway between the second one and the bottom, basically. Die Hard, don't agree with this. I thought Die Hard 2 was better than Die Hard 1. And I'm liking Die Hard 3 more than I did. We don't talk about Die Hard 4. Blade, I watched the first two, didn't see the third one. Looks like I made a good choice there. Planet of the Apes, I don't know if it's a remake or not, but yeah, literally falls off a cliff. Godfather, never seen them, so can't comment on them. Rocky, can't see them, can't comment on them either, never seen them. Terminator, 100% agree with this. Terminator 1 was a good film. Terminator 2 blew my little mind. I saw it at the Odeon on New Street in Birmingham, the second biggest screen in the UK at the time, at a press preview. So it was months before anyone else saw it, and it was a double-edged sword. But yeah, amazing film. Still now, if I'm channel hopping and it's on, no matter where it's at, if it's on the telly when I'm channel hopping, I will watch it from that point to the end. It's such a good movie. Terminator 3 was absolutely appalling, although I'm warming to it a little bit more these days, to be fair, because some of the stuff they brought out later was even worse. Rambo, never seen them, so can't comment. Batman, not really a massive fan of Batman. Alien. Now, Alien was a really, really good movie. Aliens was so much better, so I agree with that. And Alien 3 was rubbish, so I agree with that as well. So the trilogy meter, for me, for the films I've seen, I kind of agree. Meow meow, silence. Oh, she's outside at the minute. Can't wait to see the last Fast and Furious in 2026. Is that because it's the last one? Because I give up after Tokyo Drift, to be fair. I only watched Tokyo Drift because Lucas Black was the main character in it. I remembered him when he was in American Gothic, when he was about 10 or 11. And he was just evil in that. And I thought, is he going to be evil in this? And he wasn't. He was just some, 20-something-year-old driving cars very fast. But still had this really strong accents, and that's what made me laugh every time he spoke in American Gothic, because he's a tiny little scrawny kid. It was like, I don't know if he's possessed with it, I can't remember now, it's that long since I've seen it. But he had this real southern yowl kind of voice. It was really deep for someone that small. It was very peculiar. Anthony Hopkins, he says, we are dying from overthinking. We are slowly killing ourselves by thinking about everything. Think, think, think. You can never trust the human mind anyway. It's a death trap. I think it's on about the wokeness that's going on and stuff like that, and you can't argue with that, to be fair. Qantas in Australia ordered to pay 100 million Australian dollars, which is about £6.75. A federal court justice has ordered Qantas to pay $100 million Australian dollar fine for misleading customers on flights booked over several years. The airline was sued by the consumer watchdog, admitting to continually selling tickets for flights it had already cancelled, as well as notifying booked customers their flights weren't going ahead. So they got your money, and they wouldn't tell you that your flight had been cancelled, you need to reschedule. They'd only tell you at last minute. Or they'd already cancelled the flight but still took your money anyway. This was live footage of residents evacuating in the path of Hurricane Milton, and at the point when this screenshot was, well, yeah, the screenshot was taken, there was nearly 10,000 people watching that. Could only dream of 10,000 people. Sorry, dreaming 10,000 people. But is that not the case with our... One thing you've got to give the Australian government, Angela, one thing you've got to give them credit for, they do question and they do take action against these big corporations. I mean, we've mentioned before Coles and Woolworths, who are like the equivalent of Asda, Sainsbury's and Tesco in Australia, being brought into Parliament and being told in no uncertain terms that they've got to stop this basic cartel of artificially inflating prices on basic essentials because of external factors, i.e. the war in Ukraine and stuff like that, because they're the other side of the planet. Yet our big supermarkets and all that seem to get away with it all the time. So yeah, the Australian government, at least they look into things. Whether they deal with it or not is another thing, but at least they make the effort of looking into it. But obviously in this case, 100 million Australian dollars is quite a heavy fine for a company. But it only seems fair if they're misleading people. Have you seen the price of olive oil recently? No, I've not watched Popeye the cartoon series for a very long time. I didn't know she was a lady of the night, to be fair. Russian troops are sanctioned. Russian troops for their barbaric use of chemical weapons in Ukraine. Russian forces have openly admitted to using chemical weapons in Ukraine conflict, which of course is a war crime, one of many that they are currently doing. I use rapeseed oil if we're talking about oil in jars, and that has gone up a lot as well, to be fair. Not using so much at the moment though. £7 for a small bottle, yeah. Lisa Nandy, the Culture Secretary and MP for Wigan, will meet executives Premier League clubs including Liverpool and Tottenham Hotspur tomorrow as English football's top flight descends into civil war over Manchester City's string of legal battles. Chocolate kettle springs to mind, to be fair, when you talk about certain people. On this day in 1983, Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson released Say 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 in the UK. And there's a picture there of a couple of kids, I think were from Grange Hill, although I wasn't watching it by 1983. I assumed though that they were in it at the time. The paint job on Sir Keir Starmer's new private jet is almost complete. Just needs one more letter on it and it's sorted. If you listen to this on the podcast, it's the rear fin of a TWA aeroplane. I'll let you fill the rest in. Bottom line, if Milton stays on its course, this will be the most powerful hurricane to hit Tampa Bay in over 100 years. No one in the area has ever experienced a hurricane this strong before. I'm sure there must be people over 100 years old in that area. I mean, so that's not necessarily true. Fake news. That's the National Weather Service from Tampa Bay. Obviously this was breaking news as it went on. And then, you think the weather's bad in America? Have you got the BBC Weather app? Well, if you might have had a multiple heart attacks if you looked at it earlier on this week. BBC Weather had to put this tweet out, X, saying, please don't be alarmed by some of our app data today. We're experiencing a technical fault and we're working to fix it as soon as possible. Thank you for your patience. Yeah, hurricane force winds with gusts up to 14,804 miles an hour. I mean, that's almost as fast as the speed of light. It's not, it's more like the speed of sound, but no, yeah, speed of light, no, it's not, nowhere near. But there was a bit of an error going on their app. So yeah, you would absolutely brick it if you'd have seen that without the warning. Anyway, our two finalists, Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick remaining in the contest. The two finalists go head to head to invent their own brand of dog food and win the £2,500 investment from Lord Sugar, because that is what they look like. As I said before, it's like this is an episode of The Apprentice that's gone really, really wrong. And then you've got a picture of Anton Deck where they do the talking to celebrities in situations through an earpiece, and they're laughing their heads off, and they say, now put Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick through to the final two, and they're absolutely wetting themselves. And that's basically what this tactical voting thing has done. The irony is, didn't the Tories say during the general election, tactical voting, if you vote for reform, you basically get a Labour government? Yet they managed to do it themselves by tactically voting for who they thought would be a weaker candidate against their preferred, but ended up knocking out their own person. So Keir Starmer has unveiled a major overhaul of workers' rights, but say the changes will not take place for 2 years, adding, which is perfect because I'll be gone by then. Carol Vorderman, oh yeah. We did mention, I think, I saw something on Carol Vorderman, whether I mentioned it or not, I don't know. I don't think I do, to be fair. The United States military can set up a fully operational Burger King anywhere at all in the world in under 24 hours. Problem is you have to wait a week for the food to arrive. Why Burger King? Why Burger King? Rafael Nadal has said he's retiring from professional tennis. In this life everything has a beginning and an end. I think it's the appropriate time to put an end to a career that has been long and much more successful than I could have ever imagined. Yeah, he's done really, really well over many, many years, to be fair. I mean, even I've heard of him, so that says something. Banksy Archive, last graffiti before the motorway. Of course, I would have got a pot of paint and put, apart from this one, a bit further down. Not that I'm suggesting you do that. Boris is trying to make a comeback. Yeah, that's worrying as well, but there you go. Earth currently has 2 moons. Basically, a meteorite asteroid has hit at such a shallow angle, it's going to be going round the planet for a little while before flying off in a totally random direction. But then the question is being asked, what if it's not a moon? What if it's a spaceship? Now, this was interesting as well, only in America. While filming Return of the Jedi, which we've just discussed to be fair, on location in the California Redwoods, actor Peter Mayhew, who was over 7 foot tall, was told not to wander off in his Chewbacca costume because the crew was afraid that he might be mistaken as Bigfoot and shot by hunters. Which, it makes sense. Oh, this is a decent picture of Bigfoot. Oh no, it's just Chewie, isn't it? Choosing a parking spot according to the weather is important. So you got these cars that are parked on the edge of a mound, which is a grassy mound. So they've actually left the footpath and the road and parking spaces, which are clearly marked out along the road in between these apartment blocks, and chosen to park there. And you're like, what the hell are you doing? But then you see the next picture, which is basically the bins that were there are floating around, and the only bit of land that is still visible is what the cars are parked on, this mound of earth, which, genius. I assume that's in Europe somewhere because they don't look like apartment blocks in the UK, but maybe we should do that. Maybe we should have areas where you can park your car that's going to raise it up off the ground and save on insurance, because people's cars get knackered. It's all of us who pay car insurance who end up paying more. Australian cash withdrawals spike, but what does that mean for the future of notes and coins? Now, Australia is ahead of us quite a long way in cashless society, but they're also ahead of us of the issues that come with that, which is basically a lot of times the systems go down and you can't use your card in shops or anything, whereas if you've got some cash in your pocket or in your wallet, you can still pay for stuff. Cash definitely is king, Dotty Lady, and it worries me that we're being pushed down this route. I mean, for that reason, but the other reason, of course, is obviously if you're electronically buying stuff, you can be monitored. And I've heard that quite a lot of people who are on benefits, including PIP, have been asked to take bank statements in to their assessment meetings, which I think is a bit of an invasion of privacy. But they wouldn't need to do that if there was no cash around. So yeah, use cash whenever you can. It's the only way that we can keep control on our finances. Irish fans replace Sky as their shirt sponsor. So there's a dad there, I assume, with his son, and they both got Irish football shirts on, and one says on the chest "Dodgy Box," and the kid says "Fire Stick," which is obviously what they watch the matches on, rather than paying the big corporation Sky to watch the matches of their team, which is hilarious. A UK remake of Cheers is in the works. My big question is, why? I mean, American humour's bad anyway, but you watch an episode of Cheers because you had to, there's not a lot else on at the time, and you might have sniggered twice, and that was about as far as it ever went. But we don't have bars like that in the UK. We have pubs, and we have humour in pubs already. It's called Coronation Street, where there's always something stupid going on in the pub. And even in the Woolpack as well, in Emmerdale, and to a lesser extent, they're always fighting and killing each other in the EastEnders, although I can't remember last time I watched an episode of EastEnders. Or Emmerdale, for that matter. I've caught a few episodes recently of Corrie, and it's still, yeah, there's still some elements of humour in the pub. And a remake of Bullseye, yes, with we mentioned this last week with Freddie Flintoff, and I think it's brilliant. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of Bullseye, I'll be honest, but I think it's brilliant that Freddie Flintoff has got himself a gig away from the BBC that nearly killed him. He's on ITV and he's doing the Christmas special of Bullseye, which was brought back by Alan Carr in that show he does where he does random TV shows. So there's obviously been a demand for it, so one hopes there will be a full series that they go, just so he gets some airing on TV. And as I said last week, I find it really offensive that the BBC have done this programme with the other two presenters of Top Gear, Chris and Paddy McGuinness, going around Europe just having a whale of a time when their former colleague is still recovering from very serious injuries caused by the programme that they were on. I just found the whole thing, I wouldn't watch that programme for that reason. I find it very, very offensive and ill thought out. I mean, if they did their own programme separately, fair enough. I appreciate they've got a contract with the BBC maybe for another couple of years, but no. I love Question of Sport. Yeah, Paddy McGuinness killed that. Why do I keep listening to this? I used to be a champion racing driver. House tricks. Hi Ace. Were you ever a champion? Asking for a friend. Hope you're good. Currently discussing Paddy McGuinness, as you do. Bullseye was a classic, but it won't be the same about Jim Bowen. No, Jim Bowen. Let's see what you could have won. It's let's see what you have won. You've won a speedboat. The only place you can use that is Wharton, when it's flooded. Only one person will get that. Oh, 2009. Okay, I'll let you off then. I shall have to go back through the archives. I know a certain Glenn won quite a few. This is where my two lives clash like that. But yeah, You could have won a caravan. Yeah, I don't have a car, I don't drive. Yeah, but you could have won a caravan. Another Banksy. This is a rat riding on a popped cork out of a champagne bottle, one assumes. One doesn't know. This is good. Ace will get this. Viagra. It won't make you James Bond, but it will make you Roger Moore. It won't make you James Bond, but it'll make you Roger Moore. Viagra. No? Okay, move on. Thunderstorm warning. As boffins say, they give incredible Hulk-style radiation. New analysis carried out by a refitted high-tech NASA U-2 spy plane revealed tropical storms churn out a large amount of gamma radiation linked to electrical power generated by freak weather. Oh no! So get yourself in the thunderstorm and you could turn into the Incredible Hulk, but make sure you got some stretch pants on. Oasis star Liam Gallagher confirms Australian tour plans despite old airline ban. Liam Gallagher, is that Liam Gallagher? It doesn't look like Liam Gallagher. As assured fans, oh no, I'm thinking of, no, is that Liam Gallagher? I don't know. As assured fans, he will be able to be allowed to fly to Australia for Oasis's tour later this decade, despite being given a lifetime ban by an airline when he went there in 1998. I think he was a bit disruptive on the fly. Do you know who I am, lad? I'm fucking Liam Gallagher or Noel Gallagher. I'm not sure which one I am. We're the fucking best band in the fucking world. And we're from Manchester, right? And the Australians don't like that. They don't like anything. Beer can art binned by museum staff who thought it was just rubbish. Curator Eliza van der Berg spotted the piece was missing after returning from a break and raised the alarm and found the exhibit in a nearby bin bag, which was just about to be taken away. So basically it was an art installation of some used empty beer cans that were just left on the floor, and one of the cleaners thought some people in the gallery had left them there and put them in a bin bag and was about to throw them away. But it was worth at least, well, I don't know, 20p. Art, what is that about? Dog poo chaos, as 1 in 5 UK adults have stepped in a pile of it. 1 in 5? I would have assumed it was 5 in 5, particularly if you're over the age of 20. More than half Brits quiz reckon mutts muck has become worryingly significant issue in their area, and 45% believe the crisis has got worse in the past 3 years. Yeah, because pet owners have realised now that there's no comeback if they let the dog shit everywhere and don't pick it up. Especially if it's got diarrhoea. You can't pick that up anyway, can you? But I remember back in the day when dog poo was white, because the dog food you fed them was so bad that it was basically chalk. My poor dog that I had when I was a kid had a dog food called Chappie, and basically it just had white bits in it, and that was it. And yeah, his poo was white as well. Anyway, dog food's better now because the poo's a nice brown colour, so at least we know that. But yeah, when you tag dogs, when you put the chip in the back of the neck, take a blood sample, DNA it, and then if there's an area where there's dog poo left around, do a DNA test on that, go around to the owner's house and find them. If you can't be arsed picking up your dog's poo when it's had a poo, you shouldn't have a dog. I mean, it's not like it's a new law, it's been around for a very, very long time indeed. Iconic 70s film Rocky Horror Show dubbed problematic as lead actor rages. Critics hailed the 1970s classic flick as problematic in this day and age, but film legend Tim Curry has hit back, asking mourners if they were in their very own time warp. Yeah, you've got to remember it was a film of the time, and it's a cult classic. I wasn't a fan of it even from day one, but I know my daughter's a massive fan. She's even been to see the stage show of it a couple of times and dressed up as some of the characters in it. I don't know which ones because I didn't go. But yeah, it just seems a bit bizarre. Big Brother fans concerned as housemate disappears just one day into the series. Does anyone actually still watch Big Brother anymore other than Luke? Asking because, well, I don't care. MI5 has foiled 43 late-stage terror plots since the Manchester Arena bombing. The Director General of MI5, Ken McCallum, said the security service had one hell of a job on its hands as he delivered his annual terrorism threat assessment. He's a very peculiar person. I mean, he's obviously very intelligent, but you wouldn't want to go out with a drink with him, would you? No. It just looks like he's just come out of university. It's just very peculiar. Donald Trump says Gaza, where babies bombed, could be better holiday than Monaco. Presidential candidate Donald Trump made the claims to interviewer and conservative commentator Hugh Hewitt, despite the region and the people who live there being pounded by bombs. So he's in touch with himself, isn't he? Mind you, it's probably safer than what he's normally in touch with. Dirty Brits told to wash your hands or face a virus battle over winter. Europe Director of the World Health Organization, Dr. Hans Klunge, is begging us to take responsibility this winter and say it's wrong to assume viruses like colds only cause mild infections. Obviously a new case of COVID going around as well. When I'm at work, I literally live off washing my hands with the antibacterial gel stuff. And I've been doing that for years, long before COVID. I was using that. And yeah, I don't get as ill, touch wood, as what I could do if I didn't do that. I'm trying to find some wood. Touch wood. Yeah, chair's made of wood. P. Diddy's legal troubles see sales of iconic Justin Bieber song spike. Justin Bieber has a spike in sales for his song Lonely, following the child fame track coming into the spotlight amid P. Diddy's arrest drama. I don't remember Lonely, I'll be honest with you. Although, I always think that, I mean, the rumours are that he hung around with P. Diddy. But I do remember at the time saying that, you know, he's one of these kids who's got fame too soon, and then he's ended up mixing around with the wrong people who've basically took advantage of him. But I meant advantage of him financially, but there's a possibility there could have been more than that. But he's obviously got a lot of issues mentally, because I feel that anyone who covers themselves in that many tattoos has got some major issues with themselves. I don't think it's normal. I think there's something, you know, maybe it's anxiety or something like that. So again, an easy target for someone to take advantage of them, financially and emotionally. But anyway, some of the music he did was actually quite good. I mean, you know, I think he's a decent guy as well. He's certainly, since he got out of that lot, he certainly seems to be a bit more sensible now than what he was. But yeah, it's just drugs and alcohol and all that kind of thing. But that's what happens when you hang around with certain types of people, unfortunately. When you've got lots of money, you end up buying it all for them, so you've got your friends around you. A speeding Cookie Monster caught on camera as police seek Sesame Street fan. A driver in Dortmund in Germany was snapped by traffic cameras speeding down a highway while wearing a Cookie Monster costume. The police are now on the hunt for the Sesame Street lover. One would assume they've got the registration plate as well, but anyway. And that's, I mean, a lot of the autobahns don't have speed limits, so I can only assume they were driving on a road which wasn't an autobahn. But surely driving at speed with a full costume on is highly dangerous. Falklands and Gibraltar will remain British, claims PM after flogging the Chagos Islands, which we discussed last week. Sir Keir told PMQ that his uncle nearly lost his life when his ship was torpedoed defending the Falklands, and added that they are British and they will remain British. Well, that's good to know, isn't it? I don't remember any ships being torpedoed though. They were hit by Exocet missiles. I don't think any were torpedoed as such, but they could have been, I don't know. North Korean troops killed in Ukraine after Kim Jong-un sent them to aid Putin. The dinky despot has been upping ties with the Russian ruler in the face of growing resentment from the West towards both countries. And as South Korea becomes more suspicious of its northern neighbours, it is helping any way it can for Russia to win the war in Ukraine. It's now called a war as well, isn't it? Have you noticed? Everything we know about storm of the century Hurricane Milton hitting Florida. The US is bracing for the potentially life-threatening impacts of Hurricane Milton, with millions of people in Florida ordered to evacuate ahead of the storm's arrival. But if you're reading this at that time, it was too late. You couldn't get away anymore. One of my favourite comedy shows, not my ultimate favourite, one of my favourite was Open All Hours. Really, really good show. Not so sure about Still Open All Hours, but anyway. Plonker is the best word, says Del Boy. A study found quarter of Gen Zers have never heard of plonker being used as an insult, and Sir David said the idea that we might be about to run out of plonkers was worrying. He also mentioned something about being followed around by a ghost. Am I the only person in the world who never liked Only Fools and Horses? I got the classic joke of him falling through the bar. That is very, very funny, and every time I say it I do laugh or snigger or something. And also the chandelier one as well and stuff like that, but the rest of it was just dire. Ronnie Barker was a genius. Absolutely, he was a genius. We're back to Open All Hours. But yeah, it wasn't the same, was it, when it come back? It was still quite good, but it wasn't as good. Oh, I'm not the only one who hates Only Fools and Horses. That's good to know. NHS brings back key COVID restrictions as case of deadly XEZ variant rise. COVID guidance has been updated by the NHS as the new XEC strain of the virus is feared to become dominant in the UK, with infections on the rise again, mainly because we're all staying indoors a bit longer. Mother's back in hospital again. I've not mentioned it yet. She came out last Tuesday, not this Tuesday gone, the Tuesday before, and then was taken back again this Tuesday, so she managed near enough a week. But she should be coming back home again tomorrow. But every day I rang up, they said, oh, she should be home tomorrow, so I didn't bother going. So I've not seen her this week at all, because I thought, well, if she's going home, I'll go to the hospital, I'll see her for like 40 minutes. It takes me an hour and a half to get there. She gets upset when I leave, because I'll leave her in hospital, she doesn't like that. But she's not so bad when we're at home. So I'll leave her, and then I'll see her when she's at home tomorrow. And then tomorrow never came. So the arithmetics were wrong about that, weren't they? Debunking Hurricane Milton hoax conspiracies. Apparently government plotting and lasers. Joe Biden was keen to pour water over the several different reckless, irresponsible and relentless conspiracy theories about Hurricane Milton being a hoax from certain members of the right wing. Yeah, I mean, you can't play with people's lives like that. Kate's first engagement since return to work as she meets Southport victims. Prince William and Kate Middleton are in Southport as they visit emergency responders who attended the stabbing that killed 3 schoolgirls and injured 10 others. They also met with the families as well, which is really nice. Obviously Kate and William have got a young family themselves, so they would have felt that impact more than anyone else, and they can empathise with the parents involved as well. BBC weather predicts 14,408 mile per hour winds and temperatures of 404 degrees centigrade. But there's a catch. The BBC weather app was hit by a technical glitch which saw the UK forecasted with 14,408 mile per hour winds and temperatures of 404 degrees centigrade, as the Nation broadcaster was forced to apologise for the error. I mean, yeah, that's a bit warm, isn't it? I think we'd sooner go to the sun than experience those weather conditions. Thank you, Angela. A woman who lived with bodies of dead parents for years, jailed for life. Virginia McCulloch, 36, has been jailed for life with a minimum term of 36 years for killing her parents John and Lois McCulloch and plundering their bank accounts. So basically, she stabbed one and strangled and stabbed one and stabbed the other, but then kept the bodies in the flat of the house for years and pretended that they'd gone away, moved away or something, but was still claiming all the benefits for them. It's happened before, but I mean, that's just horrendous. A blood-soaked knife at home bargain slammed as distasteful Halloween prop. Katie Rose, should have been called Karen Rose, was outraged when she spotted blood-splattered knives sold next to children's costumes. The writer from Staffordshire said the accessory was in very bad taste, especially as the city is in the midst of a knife crime crisis. They're not real knives, they're plastic knives, and it's Halloween. Elon Musk unveils self-driving Tesla robot taxis, but cabbies not worried yet. Elon Musk has unveiled the Tesla autonomous robot taxi, but the singing cabbie says nothing can replace a human brain, and people won't be able to find out what's happening in the world. No, they'll have a screen where it's just got latest news or whatever on it. I mean, you know, you're not concentrating on the driving. You're just going to sit there and you know, have a nap or something. I don't know. Bloke stripped naked for shower. Well, that's a news story, isn't it? Only to see 3-inch. Well, yeah, I can empathise. Oh no, 3-inch Jesus staring at him. Oh, sorry. Robert Robertson was about to get in the shower when he thought he saw a face in the bathroom tile, and when he looked closer, he realised he was staring straight at Jesus. And Jesus was staring at his 3 inches, apparently. God, I could only dream of 3 inches. Mega geomatic storm set to blitz Earth today, Friday, bringing potential chaos. I didn't notice anything anyway. Boffins, aka liars, in the US have issued a warning over a severe geomagnetic storm that has the potential to cause disruption to power grids as Hurricane Milton recovery efforts continue. Yeah, I think we need to worry more about what's going on the planet than what's going on off the planet. You wouldn't get into a shower? Oh no, the taxi, sorry. Oh, you've changed your name to a smelly lady. No, you can. Yeah, I must admit, I've been very worried about it. I had a weird dream, actually. Was it last night, the night before? I had this weird dream that I actually got into one of these things with 2 other people. There's always 2 seats, so that was wrong. And then we ended up somewhere, and they got out, but I stayed in the taxi. And then we had to go look for them. I say we, the taxi came looking for them as well. Although I was out of the taxi at this point. And it brings me to this thing as well. You know the old thing, do you dream in colour? Which, you know, people have asked for millennia. You know, do you dream in colour? My question is, do you hear in dreams? Can you hear dreams in dreams? Because I can't remember a dream where I've heard someone say something. I've picked up, I know what they're saying, I know what they're thinking or whatever, but I've never in a dream that I can remember heard anyone speak. Oh well, that's weird. Anyway, roundabout with 36 sets of traffic lights and sparrow crossings dubbed ridiculous. The signalised roundabout in Cambridge lit up on Tuesday with a colossal number of lights as people branded it ridiculous and defeating the purpose. Yeah, basically, this is now if you look at my never thought I noticed that about dreams. Yeah, let's see every dream you remember. See if you can actually remember hearing anything. Just a weird thing. Or maybe we don't hear things in our dreams because we need to be alert to hear things in the real world. You know, a survival instinct or that kind of thing. Remember, we've only had shelters for a few hundred years, maybe a couple of millennia at the most. So therefore, we haven't evolved to be peaceful in bed. We've still got that ear to listen to anything that's going on, and particularly if you've got young children as well. Although I could sleep through anything, to be fair. Although when my daughter was little, any noise she made, I would wake up instantly. I think, what the hell's that? But anyway, yeah, this roundabout. There's a mad one in Swinton called the Magic Roundabout, which I did a video on a few years ago now. Went to Swinton, did a video on Swinton, and then I drove around the Magic Roundabout a couple of times. And this seems less bonkers, yet more bonkers than that one. And if you watch me doing my drives on a Tuesday, although it might be tomorrow, this week, but if you watch me doing my drives on a Tuesday, might be Wednesday yet, I don't know, then thinking about it, yeah, dreams is more thoughts than sound. Exactly what I was trying to, I couldn't figure out the way of wording it, but yeah, exactly. But yeah, I did this. I did this drive around this roundabout thing, and it was very peculiar and very weird because you actually there's mini roundabouts around a roundabout. But if you follow me doing the drives, I go to the roundabout with all the traffic lights on it when I come off and back on again, the M60, going to my mum's, not coming back, and I refer to it as the roundabout with the traffic lights on it. Well, yeah, I guess I need to go to Cambridge. Oh, there you go. Hi, Toff. Let's see. I just mentioned something, you're like, but there it is. Boom, there it is. Men with Rongan facial hair most likely to be dirty-cheeked tin love rats. Men with one specific type of facial hair are not to be trusted according to a new survey, as they're most likely to be cheating love rats and Rongans. I can only assume it was what was that beard that everyone had for a while? Hipster, which thankfully you don't see many of now because I think they realise they look like complete dicks. Especially if you had a long nose. We'll know the story for another day. Former First Minister Alex Salmond dies aged 69 after giving a speech abroad. This was when the news broke about Alex Salmond. Expensive art installation sparks criticism for looking like a £200,000 penis. I mean, I've never seen a penis that's been £200,000, but there you go. You can kind of see what they're going on about. It's in Naples, and it's a 12-metre sculpture by Italian designer Guatto Pence, which almost looks like penis, in Main Square, and it quickly became the butt of controversy and memes once unveiled for one very clear reason. Yeah, Alex Salmond to a massive cock. Welcome to the news. World's scariest amusement park with the real-life Bigfoot who punches kids. An amusement park pledging to give a lifelike experience features Jurassic Park-esque monsters lunging at tourists, while a Bigfoot character packs a mean right hook and just punches kids in the face. That's, oh God, what a job. Alex Salmond, yeah. A woman pays £13 for hostel in European city but ends up in a tent with 180 people. TikTok user Alvani shared her experience of staying in a £13 a night hostel in Munich, and her video quickly went viral. She had to sleep in a tent with 180 strangers. It's a hostel, isn't that what they do? I mean, maybe not 180, but surely you share a space with people. That's what hostels are. They're basically bunk beds in a room or in a corridor or something, and that's why they're such at £18, and she's moaning about it. The image that looked like Jesus, image you showed before. Yes. Interdimensional Bigfoot is smarter than humans and can run at 100 miles an hour, say some crazy people. According to Bigfoot experts, crazy people speaking at an annual convention in Pennsylvania with other crazy people, the cryptoid is not only smarter than humans but is an interdimensional beast, which is why you can never get a photograph of them properly. Warning, Britain will run out of water in 15 years as 88 billion rescue plan is unveiled. Environment Secretary Steve Reed says in just 15 years the demand for water will outstrip supply. Well, stop the fucking boats then. That'll help things, won't it? But what the hell are they on about? We're one of the wettest countries in the world. I mean, literally, flooding everywhere. And, I mean, this Labour government haven't got a clue. Haven't got a clue. Meanwhile, Toyota's portable, Gramble, fetch your cloth. Toyota's portable hydrogen cartridges look like a giant AA battery and could spell the end of lengthy EV charging. Toyota is showcasing a series of sustainable developments at the Japan Mobility Bizweek later this month, including its vision of a portable hydrogen cartridge future even, which could apparently provide swappable power for the next generation hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles, FCEVs. Now, I'm well up for hydrogen fuel cells and all that, 100%. And but what this basically is it's basically like a fire extinguisher, bit smaller than a fire extinguisher, and you just put it in the side of your car. I assume there's going to be some mechanism to stop people nicking them, and that will charge up a bit like a soda stream. It will charge your car up with the hydrogen that you need. But then later on in this piece, it says something on the lines of you could use this in a house for replacing gas. You could also use it in things like barbecues for gas. You could also use it to produce electricity in your house as well. So it's got more uses than just for cars. And as I've always said all along, even though I get slated by the Labour councillors in Wigan, if you look at the, is it Facebook or is it, if you look at Wigan Today, I don't know it's Facebook or X, and I go on about how crap electric cars are and how they're not the savior of the future and all that, and then one of the councillors has a right go at me saying, I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm only a shopkeeper, what do I know? I'm like, you're a councillor, you don't know your arse from your elbow. But I don't say that, do I? Oh, damn. Anyway, yeah, hydrogen definitely the way forward. It's expensive to produce at the minute. You need energy to produce it, yes, we know all that. But if we get green energy, surely you can use the hydrogen to make itself, perpetual motion kind of thing. Anyway, we will see. But Toyota, yeah, I would definitely, if I was in government at the moment, I would give Toyota and BMW a shitload of land that they could use, tax breaks left, right and centre, and say, get hydrogen sorted, do it. Don't worry, Dotty Lady. If anyone knows anything about typos, it's me. Anyway, that brings us to the breaking news, which we covered right at the very beginning of the programme. So we had the news that yesterday there was an attempt on someone to get near Donald Trump in an assassination attempt, but they were arrested, which is good. Scientists uncover a car-side insect. I can only assume it's a fossil. Tourist switchers warm to no-nonsense Badenoch over generics, more of the same. Yeah, but isn't Badenoch more like Trump? Boris? And do we really need another Boris? Do we? No. EVs are a hot topic now, but could alternative fuels also help reduce emissions? Well, EVs do not reduce emissions, they create emissions, particularly when you're getting rid of the stuff when its life is over. Cambridge councils face £56 million black hole in budget over the next 2 years. That's from Cambridge. Is protein powder actually good for you? Of course it isn't good for you. What a stupid question. US to send troops to Israel with advanced missile defence system amid Iranian threats. So this is not going to be used to attack anyone. It's to use to defend the Israeli population. So I don't have a problem with that as such. 4 Israeli soldiers killed in Hezbollah's drone attack on IDF base. Robert Jenrick asked BBC to host Tory leadership debate by the end of the week. You've got to be quick, haven't you? Coherent England bounced back against Finland, but defensive concerns remain. Don't understand that. 2 men arrested after XL bully fatally attacked. Alex Salmon died on spot from suspected massive heart attack. I mean, I'm terrified of dying, but if I have to die, that's the way I'd want to go, just like that, gone. Not this horrendous suffering that people do. Oh, no. Professional Strictly dancer defence celebrity reporter after hand incident. There's a video of the Go Compare opera singer who apparently is on Strictly. I don't watch Strictly. It's one of my least favourite programmes of all time. And at the bit where they're up the top of the stairs and Claudia Winkleman's chatting away to the camera, he kind of slides his hands around, not up here, I'm doing that so you can see it because you can't see my midriff, but slides his hand round her midriff, and she politely puts it back round the side again. And people are saying that that was, basically assault on his part, and they're both trying to say, no, it's perfectly fine. We were just having a bit of a laugh. It did look like a laugh to me. But yeah. Labour's tax on jobs will scare away business. Well, obviously it will. And temperatures to rise significantly across parts of the UK this week, but not in the northwest particularly. Strictly Come Dancing eliminates third contestant of the 2024 series. Don't care. I'm a billionaire eligible for winter fuel payments. Reeves is right to cut it, says this absolute fool. No, yeah, for billionaires. I mean, why do they keep bringing up bloody Elton John? Ooh, Elton John shouldn't be having it, should he? Well, if I was Elton John, I'd be like, send it back to them. Probably won't even notice he's got it, to be fair. Or give it to a charity. Like Help the Aged or something like that. But yeah, multi-millionaire shouldn't have it, but I know loads of people who are not going to get it. And then this billionaire says, well, I don't need it. Well, obviously you need it. You're a billionaire, you absolute bell. Question of the week. Is it safe to buy a second-hand EV that stood unused? I don't think it's safe to buy any second-hand EV. DUP latest on whether PIP, pension credit or carers allowance will be axed. Obviously, Rachel Reeves is going to attack the people that she can attack. As I said before, with the pension, taking the fuel allowance off them. By the time 5 years comes along, in real terms, a lot of these people will be dead. So they won't be able to not vote for her. But they've got families, and the families will remember that my granddad froze to death because of this. Talk auditor quits after broadband provider narrowly avoids going bust. Motorists to face £70 penalties for yellow box junctions in major cities. The number of people who don't know how to use the checkered yellow boxes at traffic lights is alarming. If you're turning right and where you're turning into is free, i.e. there's no standing traffic up to the yellow box, you can stop in the yellow box to turn right. So when you get a chance you can do it, but cars behind you can also possibly get through as well. Whereas some people sit outside the box and then the lights change and no one moves, no one goes anywhere. I'm like, for God's sake. But you cannot go in the yellow box if your exit is blocked by traffic that's already there because you're then blocking it. But that's not the main problem. The main problem I have is cars that just block in a line of cars that are not going anywhere else. And you can see the car in front has stopped, but they still park in that bit and block it completely, so the traffic going in other directions can't get out either. So yeah, £70 fine, absolutely. If you do it 3 times, you have your car taken off you. PM's investment summit suffers another blunder. Budget could include rise in employers, National Insurance Minister suggests. He's the Minister of Stalybridge, ironically. The MP for Stalybridge. And yeah, that's another way of making people lose their jobs. Strictly Come Dancing professionals perform Taylor Swift routine. I can't wait. The moment SpaceX successfully catches returning booster, which we've talked about already. Are electric vehicles really cheaper than combustion engines? Nope, they're dearer to make, they're more environmentally damaging to the planet to make. They still need energy to work, and then they are more damaging when they come to the end of their life. Starmer removes paintings of Queen Elizabeth I and Sir Walter Raleigh from number 10. Labour MPs urge Reeves to spend tens of billions more on ailing public services. Where's this money coming from? We haven't got a magic tree. Labour, every time they've been in my lifetime, have left the country bankrupt. And then they accuse the Tories of doing it this time, when at least half of what the black hole is what they've done. A man with weapons including high-capacity magazines stopped at checkpoint near Trump rally. That was 2 hours ago. So yeah, quite a lot of breaking news this week. Anyway, that is it for this week's news. We've been on for 1 hour and 40 minutes, so a bit longer than normal. I did have a bit of a rant about this, that and the other though. We've currently got 5 views, we've only got 3 likes. Most views we had was 11, midway. Average is just over 10 minutes. So yeah, big shout out to everyone who's joined in the chat. So Angela, Laney and Wolfie, RS John, Dream Frequency, Dotty Lady, Toff, Ace 234, and that is it. So thank you very much for this, and all being well, I'll be seeing you again. Until then, thank you for watching. Bye. Thanks, Dream Frequency. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Dotty Lady. Thank you, T. Not so much Ace.